They told her to stay still. They told her it was just training. But when the cold edge of a dull training knife sliced through her uniform and panic surged through her chest, she realized something was very, very wrong. What no one expected, what no one could have predicted, was that the quiet Navy SEAL standing 10 feet away would change everything in the next 3 seconds. And those 3 seconds would redefine courage for everyone watching, including her. The bus rumbled across the dusty military road as recruits shifted in their seats, exchanging glances that mixed exhaustion with anticipation. Sarah Delacroix sat near the window, knuckles pale as she gripped the strap of her duffel bag. She was new, freshly transferred from a different training command after requesting a second chance. Most people didn't ask for more training. Most people didn't want the pain again. But Sarah wasn't like most people. She replayed her last evaluation in her mind. The instructor's words still stung. "You hesitated, Delacroix. In the field, hesitation kills." But she knew why she had frozen. The memory churned in her stomach every time she thought of it. Her brother's accident, her mother's silence after, the way her world had crumbled without warning, everything seemed to press on her chest whenever conflict struck. But she had sworn she wouldn't be defined by it. Not again. The bus stopped with a hiss, and the recruits stepped into the heat. The training field buzzed with motion, cadets shouting commands, instructors pacing, and off to the side stood a man few dared to approach. Chief Petty Officer Mason Hale. A Navy SEAL. Rumors followed him like shadows. Some said he was too strict. Others said he never raised his voice yet could silence a crowd with a glance. Sarah noticed how calm he looked, arms crossed, assessing the recruits one by one. When his eyes met hers, she looked away quickly, feeling exposed. The recruits assembled for what the instructors called Scenario Delta, a simulation of high-pressure capture and rescue. Most recruits whispered nervously. Some tried to appear fearless. But Sarah could sense something off, like the instructors were too calm, too coordinated, as if the exercise had hidden layers. Then came the briefing. "You will follow orders exactly. No breaking formation. No intervening outside protocol. Is that clear?" Everyone responded, "Yes, sir." But Sarah felt a prickling down her spine. The instructors exchanged glances. Something was different today. They moved into a mock urban training area with plywood walls and dim lighting. Sarah was placed at the front with a few others. Hale stood off to the side as an observer. He wasn't supposed to intervene. That was the rule. Inside the structure, the lights flickered. 2 supervising trainers stepped forward, faces hardened with intensity. "You, Delacroix. Step out." She obeyed, heart pounding. "Stand still," one ordered. Then, without warning, one of them grabbed her arm. Another pulled out a dull training blade, not sharp, but pointed enough to threaten. "This is pressure. Learn to handle it," one instructor snapped. Sarah froze, breath caught in her throat. The knife pressed against her uniform, and the instructor cut downward, slicing through the fabric, not deeply, but enough to send panic roaring through her chest. Her uniform fell open at the shoulder seam as the dull blade dragged lower. "Stay still," the instructor barked. Her vision blurred. Not again. Not like last time. She couldn't breathe. That was the moment Hale moved. No warning. No hesitation. 1 second he was 10 feet away. The next, he was between them, moving with a speed Sarah couldn't even process. He caught the instructor's wrist, twisted, and pinned him against the wall in a single fluid motion. The knife clattered to the floor. The second instructor stumbled backward, shock written across his face. Hale's voice was controlled but lethal. "This is not training. This is misconduct." Silence fell thick and heavy. The recruits stared, dumbfounded. The instructors who had been watching broke ranks, stepping back, unsure what to do. Hale guided Sarah behind him gently, keeping his eyes locked on the men who'd cornered her. Sarah's knees shook. She felt shame, fear, and relief all tangled together. She hated that she froze. She hated that she still carried the weight of everything she had tried to outrun. But Hale didn't look at her with judgment. Just calm assurance, like he had known exactly what she needed in that moment. "Delacroix," he said softly. "Step outside. Breathe. I'll handle this." She nodded, biting back tears as she stepped out into the sun. For the first time in a long time, she didn't feel weak. She felt seen. She just didn't know what would happen next. Sarah walked toward the bench outside the training building, air still trembling in her lungs. She sank down slowly, pressing her hands against her face. She wasn't embarrassed that Hale stopped them, she was embarrassed that she had needed him to. A shadow fell across her. She looked up to see Mason Hale standing there, arms crossed, expression softened from how it had been moments earlier. "Can I sit?" he asked. She nodded. For a moment, they sat in silence, listening to the rumble of trucks in the distance and the shouts of ongoing drills. Sarah felt the heat of humiliation still burning inside her. Hale noticed. "You think freezing means failing," he said quietly. "It doesn't." Sarah swallowed hard. "I should have handled it better." "No," he replied. They crossed a line. Training pushes limits. It does not break them. His words struck deep. She wanted to believe him. She wanted to believe that the part of her that froze wasn't the part that defined her. Hale looked forward, hands resting loosely on his knees. "Do you know why I intervened?" She shook her head. "Because you followed the order. You stayed still. They abused your discipline. Not your weakness." Her breath caught. No one had ever framed it that way. "You think you're here because you failed," he said. "But you're here because you refused to quit. That's what matters." She looked at him, and for the first time, she saw not the legend the recruits whispered about, but a human being who recognized something in her that she couldn't yet see. The instructors who had assaulted her were removed from the field. Word spread fast. Some recruits were angry. Some were grateful. But all of them looked at Sarah differently, some with respect, some with confusion. She didn't know how to carry that weight. Later that evening, Hale approached her again during cool-down exercises. "Delacroix," he said. "Mind if I show you something?" She followed him to the mat. He picked up the same dull training knife they had used earlier and held it loosely in his hand. When someone comes at you with a blade, even a fake one, fear is natural. Freezing happens. But you can learn how to move through it. He stepped closer and held the knife out. "Trust me?" She hesitated, then nodded slowly. He demonstrated the same move he had used earlier, a simple wrist lock, a redirection of force, a grounding of stance. It looked effortless, almost gentle. "Try it," he said. She stepped in. Her movements were awkward at first, stiff from the memory of the earlier incident. But he guided her, adjusting her elbow, shifting her weight, steadying her breathing. "Again," he said. She tried the motion again. And again. And again. By the 10th time, something clicked. Her grip found its place. Her stance locked. She moved with purpose. And when she disarmed him cleanly, Hale smiled for the first time that day. "There she is," he said. Emotion surged through her chest, not the panic from before, but something fierce, something hopeful. She realized she hadn't frozen. Not this time. That night, Sarah sat alone at her bunk, thinking of everything that had happened. She thought of her past failures, the voices that whispered she would never be enough, and the moment Hale stepped in, not to rescue her, but to remind her who she could be. She understood something then. Strength wasn't about never freezing. Strength was about standing up again, learning again, believing again. Tomorrow, she would train harder. Not to prove anyone wrong, but to prove herself right. Because today, for the first time in a long time, she knew she was not broken. She was becoming.